Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us on the 7th episode of Coffee Table Conversation. Coffee Table Conversation is based on the motto of collaborative approach. We believe that the future is about collaborating, sharing of knowledge, and helping each other to achieve individual societal goals, and these conversations are medium to facilitate it. It's the 67th day of lockdown, and we are, as a nation, still trying to ascertain if we have reached the peak of the pandemic. While we can all look around and realize that many of us have not adhered to the instructions of the doctors and the government, and hence the spread seems to be a bit more rapid in most congested metros. While we can find blames on the government and etc., but we need to follow some basic process, which is wash our hands with a good soap, sanitize all our purchases, and maintain a social distance. This gives a major importance to the personal hygiene care segment, and the importance is not only about a good product but also a safe on skin product. To explain us how the industry is coping up with the change in the pandemic is none other than Chintan Vora. Chintan is a proud Bajaj alumni and also an alumni of the Institute of Chemical Technologies. He has nearly experience of about 10 years in the product development segment of the hygiene care, and he's also a business development executive with Galaxy Surfactants, where he has worked for over more than 9 years, and he's currently spearheading the whole change environment in his company. Thank you for joining us today, Chintan, and I hand over the floor to you for your presentation.
Thanks, Neil. I hope everyone is able to hear me. And Neil, that was a really wonderful start, setting the preamble and really, talking about that exactly what lies ahead and what has been happening now. Yes, one of the most directly related industry to this pandemic is home and personal hygiene care industry. And seriously, there are more turbulences in this industry right now, given the current situation. And I would like to share some of the insights today with respect to how what was this trend in the industry pre-corona, how corona completely changed away the path, and then post-corona, exactly how we look at the things to begin and things to roll out, and during this course of time, how a supplier and how a FMCG player needs to look upon, and what kind of attributes they need to be having for them to drive to a successful business, as well as to take care of the society. So I'm audible to everyone?
Yes, you are.
Okay. So, well, whatever I'm going to express here is more about my knowledge, my personal opinions, more about what I know from the industry and what we have been doing in the industry right now. So I will just use a presentation as a pointer so that I can guide you through very well. Just hold on, I share my screen. Yeah. Can you see the screen?
Yes, we can.
Okay, thanks, Neil. So, well, let me begin. Time was pre-COVID. Nobody knew COVID will come, and nobody knew this kind of situation will ever exist. We never thought any time that in our generation or during our times will be seeing such a scenario. It's a completely unprecedented scenario. And pre-COVID, we were all engaging highly on innovation, new products, new brands. And if you see this personal care and the home care space pre-COVID, personal care was more about too many value addition brands, too many brands for different specific niche uses, high price and high premium, high value adding brands. Home care was, subconsciously there, but we never actually focused as a consumer more on good products, nice new products, or advanced technology or anything. We were more about focusing on our own self. So if you see, I just change it. Just hold on. Yeah. So if you see, this is a slide which I talk about the pre-corona. Okay. We had majorly premiumization everywhere. Okay. A hand wash into its multiple forms, a face wash, variety of different FMCG brands coming up. Most of it is online. The number of brands which used to be launched, I can easily say there will be at least one premium brand launched in India or abroad every day. That was a kind of the entrepreneurship that this particular segment or industry had brought into. Uh, Not only the easy entry, but because there were also convenience products which were available to directly make things in a small scale setup, like how right now Neil said, we can make soaps at home. That's how we have different range of products where we can actually make something in a very small setup. So people started, leveraging upon the Ayurveda. People leveraged upon the different herbal actives, and they created different stories. And today we see, you can list hundreds of brands and which are there and driving the premiumized segment. Also, the important point is this: all these new brands were majorly there through online retail. Okay, because it's about the startup having less money, and you need to consolidate the expenses very well. You need to make sure that you are investing in the right place, and that's how most of the brands launched online. And if you see Insta, Facebook, and everyone used to be filled with all these brand promotions. One additional thing which used to be driven was sustainability and green and natural. So every brand tagline or every brand core offering used to be from either being green, natural, or sustainable. Okay, so most of this product concepts were either were driven by Ayurveda or herbal, were majorly green, sustainable, or about all about ecology. Safety was another aspect, and that's why you might have seen products with saying that no sulfates, no parabens, free and that free, but it is to be secondary. Also, most of these brands used to launch a variety of product basket, and majorly it was all about aesthetic beauty, the beauty on the skin, beauty on just grooming, hair grooming, all with respect to what you look like. Okay, not majorly nourishing from inside, but more about aesthetic beauty. And also, you had care and consciousness more to yourself and skin. So my consciousness or my premiumness or all this trend application was more about my personal care products. I never focused on green sustainable options on home care so much. I never thought my floor cleaner should be that safe and that good to be used. I never thought, I should have a very premium laundry. There used to be more about, jitna apne ko paisa kharch karna hai, utna karna hai. So that is something which we see for pre-COVID. Okay, but when you move into the COVID and when exactly things started, worsening from February onwards, you see a lot of things started changing, and there are certain important management points and the lessons that come out of the things that we had in last 3 months. So when you enter a COVID period, we say that what are the immediate effects and what kind of attributes we saw from some companies that actually driven them to success, that made the best out of the current period. Then we talk about what is the near future going to be, and then what is the midterm imperatives that a company needs to have. So if you see, immediately consumers had been threatened by corona, and when you're threatened, the need for survival is very important. And then suddenly at one go, all the past impacts of the advertisements and something of creating that premiumization vanish away, and the threat or the current need takes the center stage. And that's how personal and home hygiene immediately took the center stage. And immediately there was a rise in a basic requirements of soaps, hand sanitizer, and cleansers. It's a very generic knowledge which I am telling you right now. Everyone knows as a consumer that these were the simple things that you look forward for. And then the lockdown was implemented. Obviously we have read the reports of stockpiling a lot. So stocking of the products came up. Beauty care products took a back seat. Now let me explain beauty care. So there is a personal care which you talk about: face wash, hand wash, body wash, soaps and everything. Beauty care means lipsticks, makeup and everything. So all those leave on application things which remain on your skin took a back seat a little bit, because you are not going out, you are not you're not meeting people, you're not having social gatherings or anything. So all those beauty care cosmetics had a very low demand, but the majority of the demand comes from this basic requirements. And the supply chain disruptions were very significant, and that's how that had come as a reworking of the priorities. wherein what I need to produce now, what I need to do, which one are the important products I need to supply to the market. And also another important is because of the lockdown, when the complete supply chain broken, when there was no vehicle available, no drivers available, till now that problem is there. The just-in-time systems are nearly crashed. Inventories were thought to be very, very helpful. In fact, in some of my cases, it was because of the inventory available that I was able to maintain the interest of my customers and make sure that they are also winning at the marketplace. So inventory at their end, inventory at my end, inventory and the relationships with all my vendors was something which is very, very useful. So we are going to divide our learnings into three aspects. The last two aspects are clubbed together. One is what it means for the consumer and the consumer behavior, and how we derive the imperatives with respect to what a FMCG player and the suppliers like us do alike. Okay, so if you see what it means for Corona, in consumers, we are going to see a very significant habit creation. What sometimes our Swachh Bharat mission tried to do for a long time, I think so Corona has just done it very simply. Okay, habit creation of being, having cleanliness, hygiene along, hand washing, hygiene, and you're having your new routines, cleansing something multiple times. That is going to increase the consumption of this basic products. The consumer habits are also going to evolve. This is more from an international perspective than Indian. It's about the no-touch products. But yes, very importantly, in the urban segment, we will see children also talking about different packs. Like, so for example, if you'll have a shampoo, you will make sure that I have different packs. Okay. Another important thing which consciously is going to take over is talking about internal health, the immunity, as well as a functional beauty, that I need to be secure in my skin. I don't worry about, those specific glows and textures of my skin, but I make sure that my skin is protected. I am hygienic and I am doing my regular nourishment properly. And the care and the consciousness is going to move just out of my skin and to all my current surroundings as well as inside. So you are going to increase the space over which you are going to look and take care about, beyond your skin and into the home hygiene. And the beauty care becomes secondary. So the important imperatives for all the suppliers, agility. Now I will take a little bit time here to explain this. If you carefully see, and the reports are all available, agility was very, very critical for each of the FMCG player and suppliers like us. Corona not only was an adversity, but it gives us a lot of opportunities. Opportunity number one, okay, agility in terms of moving in the marketplace to build a new brand. Okay, Nivea was never into sanitizers, but Nivea really took up its strength and built up the sanitizer and is in the market across the world. Okay, agility to move to the marketplace by simple using your knowledge, which was there previously. Kevin Care launching a surface care product very immediately. Cross implementation of ideas, very important. A sachet concept by Kevin Care, which was there, revolutionized in 1970s for the shampoo market. Okay, quickly they use this particular technology to deliver sanitizer in sachet, and also ITC is there along with it. So cross implementation of ideas using the assets. For example, companies there who used to make perfumes. Now their perfumes are not been sold. So what to do? I cannot keep my manpower idle. So simply cross implementing your alcohol idea into the sanitizer aspect and being agile to move into the marketplace and quickly, placing your products there. It also means about relationships and partnerships. While I will be agile to launch a product, I need to have a very strong partnership with my local vendors, as vendors of packaging material, vendors of the ingredient supplier. So what this Corona has brought out is you cannot be just global. And as rightly said, you have to be local, you have to be strong in the relationships in a regional context as well. So that is one. Second is agility with respect to change behavior. For example, Estee Lauder, one of the very famous brand, but they had a 23% sales in the hotel industry. Now, because of Corona, hotel industry is completely gone. So what? So they have to quickly diversify and transform the production to be in the more selling concepts like face wash and other cleansing products, and they quickly moved into it. So agility is very important. There are certain brands which we are homegrown brands, I cannot name them, but if you simply look across, when their co-players were able to quickly move into the market and spread across, there were certain brands which just could not take the benefit of this particular market. So agility became a very key important. Important was also be ready to change and a growth mindset. Okay, so whenever you had present an opportunity to get into the home care space, a well-known personal care company quickly grew into home care. So for example, Himalaya and ITC launching a range of products into the home care. Also, how you change from your innovation funnel. Your innovation thought is more about launching a sustainable products, launching something different, and how quickly they say that, okay, keep everything aside, and important is now I need to change my gears and launch something different. Now imagine all these companies did the entire R&D job while sitting at home. So it's very, very important that you cannot think that I'm at home, I cannot do anything. They were able to coordinate right from the start, coordinate with the factory R&D, factory QA person taking the role of the R&D as an innovator and doing the experiments what my innovator is telling from home and trying to do everything. So there was a changed mindset that I can do it, and they actually did it, and then the products were launched. So there are small examples where they show that how people had changed the attitude, and it depends upon the culture of the company as well, that whether the people are ready to take the job of something else. We have FMCG players who have 2 years of entire innovation cycle, 2 years of product launching, 2 years of some called as SOP implementation and finalization of the product, and making sure the bottle packaging looks nice and everything. Quickly in 1 month the product launch. This also shows that actually you can launch a product in 1 month if you need to be. Important from the supplier point of view, what also became to us is changing gears to digitization. We had never done the documentation of shipments digitally. We had never done, means we had never signed the documents so digitally easily. Means we have done, not to that great extent, but then quickly our IT services were strong enough to move to the houses of our authorities, make sure that the laptops and printers and everything is there. The business plan was in place, and accordingly, the quick changeover to how to digitally operate, giving the decentralization of authorities and people taking their decisions and quickly, approving things online, getting things moved, was a quick important thing to learn that yes, when the change comes, you have to move, and a lot of digitization happened in the meantime. Another important aspect was motivation and care. Okay, because it's very important. All these things are going to be run by people now, understand? And everything, this agility, growth mindset is nothing but related to people. And it's important that your people are being taken care of, motivated well. And that's how motivation and care is another aspect of every manager that was there. And that's how, I've seen team meetings, and I've seen a lot of managers from the FMCG players as well as from the suppliers company that take call for so many different types of team meetings, and the kind of the empathy and the compassion that you need to deliver justifies your leadership. So it's important that you should show motivation, care, compassion, empathy to make sure your people are there to deliver the right effective work, as well as it's very important to keep them intellectually engaged. The point is, currently the lockdown period is such that you are alone, you are not meeting your colleagues, you are not bound by different kind of responsibilities. Sometimes your work is related to office, so you are at home, and you don't have to basically, you don't get to interact so much. Some of the juniors get completely disconnected from the upper management. So it's very important that how every leader takes care of its juniors with respect to engaging them continuously. Otherwise, they get completely intellectually disconnected, which can cause problems later. Then, if we move to the near future, what we are going to see is new habits, new routines, and renewed priority. Your discretionary income is going to go down. Okay, can you hear me? Everything is going smooth. Sorry.
We had a little bit of
Hello?
voice crack.
Now, how is it?
It is
Yeah,
perfect. Go
Okay.
on.
this is good. This is good.
So the near future is going to see about new habits and new routines and renewed priorities, in the sense that obviously it's a very simple and basic to understand that you will have the hand hygiene concept, that you will have the new routines of obviously taking care of yourself, uh, making sure that houses are clean, your surfaces are clean, and your priorities will be more on purchasing the products which are related to these habits, and not about spending on the beauty care or more premium products, at least the near future. What also brings up that the companies needs to innovate on making the products being safe then sustainable. Now they need to prioritize the safe aspect more. But remember one thing, your most of this, at least in the Indian context, most of the current buyers will be no, I will not. I should not say that. Means it will be relatively they had an income loss. Their discretionary income has gone down. Their purchasing power would have gone down. So it's very important that whatever you give not only be safe, but also at the same time very cost effective in nature. And that lies the what I call as a big important aspect of innovation. And it is a very big responsibility on the suppliers as well as FMCG companies, that while you give good products which are safe, but you also make it cost effective so that it is affordable, and also you make it then sustainable as well, because we don't have to forget the future effects which are going to come on our way, and we need to talk about it, which will be doing it. So it's important that innovation is going to have a very, very critical role right now, and it's important that innovation keep on happening. Innovation should not be the first one to be cut down on the expenses when you want to cut down because you want to maintain balance sheets. Because for now, as a short term, you may cut down, but then you are also killing your future. So it's important that innovation should not be the first one. Innovation may be the last to cut down on the cost, because you need safe products, but that are also cost effective and affordable. Else there is will no meaning. And then it has to be sustainable as well. Now remember, all these green products and sustainable products, they come with a cost, because sometimes you need to use the processes and means which are not commercially viable, or which may not be voluminous enough to spread the fixed cost across. So they becomes highly costly sometimes. But then that's where the innovation is going to be, and that's where the company's smartness is going to come. And how can I make this more affordable to the lowest level of the consumer? What is also going to be important is how the regional and the local players will gain importance. Specifically, as our spread across the country is very big, migrants have moved back to the villages. There will be booming rural economy. I don't say booming, but we need to make it booming. It's not going to just boom out. And hence there will be local and the regional players which will gain a lot of importance. Okay. And also the high value brands, a lot of startups which were just near the break even, which may be just about to complete a certain initial term. I guess these brands will get consolidated. Some may move out easily. Some of these brands may be bought if their products are really innovative. But it's difficult to contemplate whether they will get a real good success, tasted what they did pre-corona easily. So some of these things we need to look at. Home hygiene products will be very, very important, and that will have the priority in spending. But on the other side, from the beauty segment, it will be functional beauty more than the aesthetic beauty, which will keep you safe and keep you good looking. What is important is the rural economy need to take care, and that's how it's imperative for also the companies to build a rural supply chain. So companies like ITC or companies like even Hindustan Unilever, they already have this particular distribution ships already in place. So I'm sure that they will be the much further first ones to leverage this particular rural economy. But yes, they need to bring in the more affordable packets and more easy to sell, easy to use products. For the suppliers like us, it's very important that we support our FMCG customers with very, very good and cost-effective ingredients, and also create a supply chain scenario which will be cushioned from such kind of disruptions in future. Well, in our case, we were already in that case there to have our local warehouses across India, to make sure that we have good amount of inventories to be taken care to the customers. And but yes, it's very important that all the suppliers need to build a lot of cushion into the supply chain, because such disruptions are expected in future as well. So that's very important, and that's how it means that innovation is there. But there is also, I added a term, product flexibility. In the right now, when the scenario, when your all the ingredients are not available, let's say like a corona period right now, when the supply chain disruptions is very big, you do not have all the ingredients available at your place. So you should be having an alternate formulations to deliver the same efficacy in the same cost. So there has to be a product flexibility. So for example, I tell you a very quick smart innovation. Hand sanitizer has a very jelly structure. Okay, so you have a gel and you have alcohol. So you have a jelly structure of hand sanitizer. But let's say when my polymer became very expensive immediately to gel, the polymer which you use for gelling, that became very expensive immediately because it was not available in that much quantity. The demand of the hand sanitizer suddenly zoomed down and there was no enough polymer available. So quickly people understood, that, okay, whether I really require it, my ultimate purpose is, only alcohol to kill the germs or sanitize myself. So that's how immediately came the hand rub. That is just a liquid alcohol with certain other ingredients, but no gel. That's the only difference. So the product flexibility is very, very key because ultimately you should know the purpose. The brand should come back to its purpose under such time. It should realize that my purpose is this. Let's first do that. Forget about other things right now. So, that also calls about flexibility in the attitude. You need not be very, very stubborn about this is what my brand says and I will be doing that. It's important that they leverage the current situation and have the product flexibility. Similarly, in the regular terms also, some of the big brands do that, So for example, if there is a dishwashing liquid and I have the volatility in the prices, then I actually change the formulation a little bit so that I exactly manage my price points and don't pass on the price to cost to my customers. So that is how that flexibility is important. But now, given the current scenario, it will become imperative that for every product, you have a backup product available. So that is how going to be a product flexibility. Local supply chain strengthening, as I already told you, it's very, very important. And slowly companies will have a dual vendor approvals for all the local supplies so that they don't go out of the stocks like they did right now. Many of these companies may have been dependent on single ones, so possibly we look after that as well. Important is it's going to be having a new work styles and collaboration. That's obvious and very everyone knows. Everyone is working from home right now, having meetings on Zooms and Teams and Google Meets. But very also important that how the innovation as well as the supply chain guys are going to work. With respect to having the, many a times the supply chain involves a lot of hard copy documentation to be sent for either shipment purposes or for bank detail purposes or for anything, how that particular safety, privacy, security, and as well, making sure the shipments and everything are done on time and agile behavior without, affecting any of this particular work, how you will be adding on digitization and non-paperwork or working from home, and all those things are going to come up. So I still drive the two key aspects that industry has learned. Agility and innovation is the key aspect in each of this thing that the FMCG players and the suppliers had or have learned right now out of the situation. What we look at the new normal, the products which will be there, as I already told you, will have to be safe. And surely over the period of time, at least 1 year from now, sanitization, we look at the very central theme, and then the cost effectiveness is also going to be there. Example can be, how can I give you a very concentrated product at home, or how I reduce the packaging and how I make a packaging very, very sustainable. So that will call for a radical innovation, which will call for all these things are given, but how can I make it sasta? Okay. Consumers. Slowly you will see the rural economy as a very separate chain, not just a small packet from the current product, but a completely different formula and a completely different offering and a completely different habit. Okay. So what we were looking at certain time earlier, that, even the online brands were having a rural penetration for the premium products. Maybe some kind of reversal may happen from there. Okay, so small packs will take very, very important point. And when it comes for the small packs, means more sachets, more tubes. So your sustainability will take a back seat. And that's how, right now for some time, ecology will be forgotten there. And convenience is the key. So kirana stores or people who can give debts online, debts on the go, because kirana store maintains a chitti and allows you to pay a little later. So all these things will come because rural economy has already been affected because of the job losses, and there also the migrants going back, so they will not have enough money. So the kirana stores or that personal bonding with this particular local stores will again become forefront for this particular economy to thrive. Also important is the regional fragments. GST brought a lot of warehouses in different regions as well to have certain benefits. At the same time, for some of the companies, there was a consolidation of the warehouses. But now your regional fragments will become very, very critical. Nearness to the market will also become very, very critical, because you need to be having a quick supply chain and available, because our rural spread across India is very weak and vast and very deep. Well, on the other hand, we will see that a completely opposite shift on the urban middle class, and we will see large packs coming in. If you see, I don't know how many of you know that in entire Middle East or entire African nation, there are very, very big packs. A laundry detergent come in a 5-liter pack. A floor cleaner comes in a 5 to 10-liter pack. So that kind of volume buys may come in, which will also enable the promotional aspect from the FMCG companies. So on one hand, consumers will look forward for volume buy, so I don't have to go for purchase much more time from the point of view of less touch. But at the same time, the FMCG players will also push, because that is also one of the ways in which they can bring the sustainability, they can drive volumes, they can get back the economy, they can get back the revenues, as well as drive for good discounts and promotions. So volume buy and the volume packs will be key. So slowly you should see, maybe a 5-liter laundry basket coming in, or a 2-liter dishwash liquid coming in, and you will see a bigger packs for sure. Even already shampoo market is already seeing bigger packs of 1-liter Dove or 1-liter Sunsilk in that case. So online retail will obviously key. Important is again to gain trust, till right now, online videos, online demos were good enough to convince, influencers were good enough to convince, but now again, safety and security are something, or sanitation is something that you experience sometimes. You feel that, okay, it's clean, right? I can feel it, So their demos and experience are going to become very, very important, and engagements are going to be important, but also with trust. So earlier, influencers used to just influence me, but probably right now they'll be looking at more deeper engagement. Maybe you go to a store and show that, okay, how effective it is. Sometimes the technical studies may be helpful. Like earlier, how Colgate used to come and show that daanton mein kitne germ kitanu kam ho rahe hain, and all those kind of studies will be talked about, or simply how Ariel detergent has been shown washing in a TV. So possibly some kind of demos and some kind of experience will have to be shown, more than just a glamorous marketing. Need of the strict rules and regulations. This I personally feel is very, very important. Today, if you see home care products, on the back of it, you don't see a label, okay? And this is particularly only from the consumer psychology I'm coming. I'm not coming from the real as a business point of view. So it's very personal opinion of mine that today if you see a American product or a European product, they give a complete safety protocol about the product that you are going to use. They don't treat a home care as a very random product or just a product. So, that kind of safety aspects we are not following. We are not writing all those safety important labels. We don't know what is going into a regional home care product that as a private label is selling. So the ingredients are not disclosed. So sometimes it's important that, we feel if the safety is concerned, then surely we feel that, the organization, the authorities may come after it, and, they will surely, hopefully the government will look at it, that how the safety is also driven from this point of view, the need to actually disclose the ingredients well. So that is very important. We already talked about the discounts for the volume buy. Also, the rural constant hit and hygiene will be very, very important. See, one thing, right now the rural people are maybe using the sanitization products because of the fear and the threat. But the moment Corona will be out of the game, and after a year or so, sometimes you may think that, okay, now everything is changa, koi problem nahi hai, sab chala gaya hai. This habit of hygiene may again go away because I want to save money. Now I will not spend on sanitizer. It's done. That period is over. Okay, so if the consumers, if the FMCG markets needs to make sure that the consumption is going on, or if we feel that India as a health and hygiene should be stronger as a healthy society, it will be important for the rural people. There will be has to be a constant promotion and talk and awareness session about how important is hygiene and safety, and not only just a time period perspective but forever in your life. So that's going to be important. We shall see also some kind of subscription models coming in. Maybe you will be subscribing to certain kind of brands, so that it's like a EMI system. You try to spread across your consumption over a period of time, so you don't spend together on it. So those kind of promotional models and subscription models may come into it. And important is, if you want that India slowly becomes a spit-free area, or India becomes more concerned about the open defecation, or maybe important about what you call as throwing garbage anywhere, that awareness and maintaining this fear of hygiene should be constantly used. Once Corona is out, government should just not let away that. Even the FMCG players should not let away that. They can use this threat and fear to actually make sure that people's habits are constantly being on the better side and changing. So, use this awareness and fear of importance of hygiene to change the habits completely and create a better society. But yes, this is very important, and you need to have obviously the FMCG companies as well as the suppliers. We cannot think about the old ways of doing stuff, and that's how radical changes, open mindsets, and agility to market will be very, very key, because it's not like old times that a period or a trend lasts for 5 years or 10 years. Now, a trend is going to change every year. So, if you are not going to get that kind of benefit or that kind of complacency that yes, aaram se hum log kuch karenge, 2 years of our innovation cycle. So, when I was interacting with one of our Indian customer, it's a major FMCG brand, they have already defined that any product I take as a project, I need to make sure that I am out in 3 to 6 months, because they feel that the innovation cycles have now reduced to 5 to 6 months importantly, because the trends are changing every 1 or 2 years. So that's how we need to be, that, our innovation cycles cannot be like, I want to launch a product in 2022, so I will start working from right now, R&D, do 1 year on R&D, stability of shelf life for 6 months, and then, finally, launching the product. So that kind of reduction and the shrinkage in the innovation cycles will come. And after this Corona is done, it's not important to settle down, because, as I told you, the trends will be importantly changing. And what we see ahead is, we are going to see water issues, we are going to see a lot of ecology issues, and somewhere down the line, I personally feel we'll have a lot of food and economy issues as well, because you will see that food scarcity is going to be something there. It's also a part of, if the water scarcity is there. So once the water scarcity comes in, irrigation and farming has a pressure, and the food security issues will come in. Now you may think, why this may not have any linkage to what you call as home care and personal care industry. It will have. One is from the point of view of spending, one is from the point of view of the supply chain of the ingredients. For example, certain kind of ingredients are still derived from farming and nature for this personal care and home care industry. Once your food and economy issues or water issues come up, your priorities in growing a specific type of the fruits and vegetables or farming will change. So accordingly, your FMCG supply chain may also change. For example, Malaysia is completely into the palm oil basis. Now, suppose tomorrow food and economy issues come in and the palm oil priorities changes, then accordingly your supply chain for the particular surfactant changes. So, all this cleansing ingredients changes. So everyone has interlinked, and that's how it's important that how, keeping in future this issues in mind, innovation needs to be continued, agility needs to be there, but at the same time, it's important that the hygiene and the current whatever this particular habit creation is, that is maintained, because that's a task that India as a country, or some of the South Asia as a country, Bangladesh or any, or some of this country, if you see, they're having a lot of hygiene related issues. Somewhere Corona has brought a fear in that, and I see this as an opportunity that India should also take it up. And wherever we know that the awareness is not there about hygiene, this is a good time to create hygiene, because everyone will be accepting it, because it's known as a global problem, not just Indian or political in nature. So that's something from my side. So I I want to also tell you that, from our side, it was very important. There were a lot of struggle which is involved. It's not just, we are working from home and it's just simple thing. Being from a personal and a home care industry and as a supplier of certain ingredients, every day as a lockdown situation changed, every day as a new rule came into this industry, every day we had a new particular action plan. We were in some cases we were not visionary enough to see what can come. In some cases we were well prepared enough. So for example, it can be like suddenly some factories are getting sealed and you are not able to get certain kind of raw materials, and you suddenly think, okay, now what I can do next. In some cases, right, till now the problem is there that your drivers are not available, you don't have enough number of trucks available, and how you make sure that you make the products reach to your particular customers, that still remains a challenge. Well, interacting with some of my customers, I know that how smartly they prioritize their products. They know that now I don't want a shampoo more, I don't want a shower gel more, but I know some other ingredients, some other products are required, and they formulated with an alternate ingredients available and quickly launched into the market some kind of needy product. So yes, agility is very, very important, and that's what I want to drive. So whenever in such kind of unprecedented times, and especially as a such kind of important product which becomes a part of your need and the basic amenities, I feel that companies should have innovation, agility, and also more taking the lower class and affordability into consideration. That's how they should move forward. So that's what I wanted to share. Yep, Neil.
Thank you so much, Chintan. This is quite a comprehensive presentation that you made. Before we open up for questions, I had a couple of quick queries. So I had read about the whole Amul story of how the Amul managed to keep their factories running in this whole system, and how they faced labor issues, and what was the whole the manager level of confidence building that they had to do. And I'm sure you face the same challenge, because people may not want to come and work and they were scared about the whole virus. So what did the company do in immediate measure to build this whole confidence building so supply continues? Because you are an active ingredient towards other providers. Your company provides active ingredients to HULs and ITCs of the world. So if you stop, they stop, kind of a deal, kind of a thing. So you keep on running was more important. So what did your company do at that moment is something I'm curious.
Yes, a good question, Neil. See, I tell you, there are two aspects to it. Yes, one thing, company has to do something to keep yourself motivated, and that make sure that people do the right actions that are required. But first thing, before that, I will come that there is also a part of a culture. What you culture comes, first, because for my company, the culture has always been that we will always stand up to whatever occasions things come up. So somewhere we are having that aspect that we are very flexible into our working stuff, and we understand the situation. And as a culture, I think so most of our colleagues are something like, yes, we need to do it, we do it. So self motivation is something already there into us. But yes, as a part of how the companies also make sure that you deliver the right thing. Well, one thing is our top management, okay, interacted specifically to the important colleagues which are required to have that action being done by them. And also we showed them that yes, we are trying to take all kind of safety measures to make sure you are important for us, that yes, your safety and health is important for us. Whether you require a convenience to conveyance to move from one place to another, whether you require safety at working and the operations level and the plant, whether you need some kind of other measures to be taken to make sure that your safety is paramount. So that kind of assurances are given, and yes, we were successful at that. Second is also about, as I told you, compassionate and empathy. When you are talking, when we talk, it's not only from the point of view of work side. First, we understand your security, your safety, your family priorities. Whether how comfortable is your family also, to make sure that you are going to work and they are okay, they are worry free. Okay, so that kind of talks we engage into, we discuss. We have discussed with some of these families as well. simple examples of one of my customers wanted to have some samples and need to do some quick product development, and we know it's very imperative to deliver them samples in 15 days. So we no one could go. I was into containment zone, everyone else is on a containment zone. So there were some people who were ready but having that some glitch in his mind, and that's why we engage in interaction. We talk to their parents and families. See, we are taking this precautions. Have you have any worry? We had an empathy talk. We had a care and a concern shown, and we had taken make sure that this is not just a word. We walked the talk and we did everything to ensure that while the person is doing that extra effort to make sure the samples are going on, the material is going, we take care of his every other logistics and the safety purposes. So we have demonstrated this way. So one is culture that is there, so people are getting ready, self-motivated. But other thing is leadership is engaging into a very active talks with our direct colleagues and people, employees.
It's quite interesting actually, because one of the core thing remains is management comforting your employee, and not only the employee but employee's family, so that they feel secure, which is very, very, very different. Sridhar has a question. Sridhar, if you can unmute and ask your question, please.
Hi Chintan, very good presentation.
Thanks.
Just a small question. As you gave few examples of brands coming up with their products during lockdown in a month. So how was the regulatory approval considered, or how did brands get their approval so fast? Like you mentioned.
A very good question. A very good question. See, now that's where, as I told you now, that's another thing. Relationships and partnerships come in. Okay. So wherein there are 2-3 aspects. In certain cases, you have regular Ayush or herbal related approvals, which are like an umbrella approvals. So they were able to come up with that, and some of the products came in that segment. Similarly, you might have seen a Lifebuoy sanitizer with all Ayurvedic ingredients, and that alcohol which is made is also through a proper fermentation called as prasanna. You call prasanna in Ayurveda. That's basically alcohol. So that way they have come up with. Similarly, what also relationship matters is government regulatories understand that okay, these are FMCG companies and they need to have these products into the market. So they had already right from the start categorized that hand sanitizer, hand soap, surface cleaners, these are very, very important. And so whatever the necessary approvals were required, they were given. And they were given in a quite fast way. And there are FDA regulations in which they quoted certain safety norms and quoted certain benchmark materials. And then the FDA compares and understands and takes the theoretical approval of safety right now. Okay. And obviously the brands also take the responsibility that yes, we take the responsibility that this product is safe and good and it will not harm. So the relationships between the authorities of government and the FMCG players did matter here, and getting the approvals very quickly. There are cases where the approvals were given in 4 to 5 days flat. So that's how the brands managed to, even if you see Marico's veggie wash and all the things, they are pretty fast to come to the market. And in some cases, there are certain categories of home care products, where they can easily launch without registration done. That's why I said the stricts and the norms are not so stringent in case of home care products. In a hand sanitizer, it's important, but in a home care product, if you are launching a floor cleaner, a third-party manufacturer, a small player can just launch it. They don't worry.
So there is no risk involved, what you mean to say.
Yeah.
Chintan, before we go ahead and ask the next question, I had this query is that you mentioned about this whole segment, which was a very booming segment, which was the handcrafted segment. And we saw
handcrafted
soap segment, and we saw a lot of people entering and a lot of brands at a very high premium. And in your discussion, you are saying 2 things may happen. Is one, their consumptions are going to fall drastically right now for some time to come. Some brands may die and some brands may be acquired, is what your prediction is. But do you think that these brands were actually that effective, or there were actually only a little bit of plus and minus done here, and that is one part of it. And this branding labeling, because they do not declare the ingredients and the percentages of ingredients, most of them. So the branding labeling was also an issue with them. So do you think that going forward, every consumer needs to be made aware about this whole challenge? So one question is, what happens to them? You think they're actually going to die, or the segment will not be there for a long time to come? Or the second part is that you see branding labeling becoming more stringent with all these segments right now.
Okay, so let me come to that. First is, let's understand, there is a whole region of handcrafted products. Okay. Now the handcrafted products, some of them also come under a section of herbal Ayurveda, as well as other section where handmade products somewhere don't have that kind of stringent norms to declare things openly. Okay. So you can talk about a handmade stuff. If you are selling on a retail counter, and if there is proper retail segment which is done, then yes, FDA does come and checks, and that's why registration becomes important. But in some cases, there are cases and there are loopholes in a system where you can say that handcrafted products can just be sold. Number one. Number two, yes, this brand, see, what will come importantly is this handcrafted soaps is where I'm talking about the brand will die. I'm not talking specifically from the handcrafted. As I told you, there are a lot of brands which started booming, okay, on online sales, people making their own products, launching it online. And trust me, digital space is not that sasta also. It is really mega. So to make sure that you are up and running and you are constantly churning out revenue, you need to have that kind of promotions done, and at the same time getting that kind of sales done. But the point is, if my particular discretionary income is not going to allow me to buy any random product and try something new, and I will go for a branded product only, even though I want to buy a premium product, but I will still go to a very big brand because I know that will be a good product, because I don't want my money to be just wasted right now. I can't be on a trial error situation in that case. So what we have seen, and I've already seen a couple of brands, when the revenues are falling, when they are not able to sustain their fixed costs right now, they are going out of the market slowly, because the way they had come in recently, they are just moving out silently. Second is, there may be certain brands which they know that, okay, I may not be able to sell that particular significant revenue, because people may stop buying this particular high price products. But if they have a really innovative concept, they'll be either pitching for new investors, or they will be just selling that brands to some other big guy or a big person in that particular industry, and silently move on before actually registering the losses. So this is something which I personally feel, and I have already seen a couple of examples which I cannot name here. Second. Third, also coming to the handcrafted soaps labeling, or for that matter any other labeling. See, current regulation says what, and that's also true for across globe also at many places. In case of labeling personal care, nobody is mandated to give a percentage, but the labels is written in a way, it is in a descending order of the ingredients. And a slight more knowledge and more reading on the internet can tell you that if it is written in a certain descending order, you can understand what kind of ingredients have been put at what particular level of dosages, and you can understand whether it is only for the namesake or whether it is really going to be effective. If that knowledge and awareness also come now, then accordingly products will become automatically more effective. Brands will be compulsorily have to follow good practices, because they know that my consumer has got now aware in reading the labels. That's why reading the labels is also a key art. Understanding that exactly जो उन्होंने डाला है उतना reflect कर रहा है क्या वो products का वैसे.
There's an interesting question from Jasmine. Jasmine is asking, I think this is two parts of the question. One is the behavior change in the rural segment. And because the rural segment uses small packs, as you stressed, and they use more of soap and etc. Will the hand sanitizer price be reduced so that, and will there be a knowledge imparting in the rural segment so that hand sanitizer starts being used in the rural area? So that's the question. One is knowledge imparting, and will the price can be reduced so that it becomes affordable for that segment?
Okay, a good question. Thanks for that. See, I don't know how the knowledge imparting will happen, but it should happen. As I already tell you, awareness maintenance is very key for the rural segment to improve on the health hygiene aspect. And I'm sure, given the companies like Unilever, Reckitt Benckiser, or even the ITC, I'm sure this kind of awareness sessions will be done by them, and awareness will be maintained. The only key aspect which time will tell, is whether the habit of using hand sanitizer will remain. I tell you why. On one hand, we do have launches by Kevin Care and ITC who are coming up with 50 paisa and 1 rupee sachet, which is good, which is nice, and that will help them, consume in a smaller way. I personally have not seen that sachet, so I cannot comment on it, but I presume that it may be a one-time use, or you cannot keep it open. Alcohol will just evaporate, right? So if it's a sanitizer, it have to be just one-time use. Now, sanitizer is such thing that every other hour, every another hour, or every another half an hour or 2 hours, you touch something and you want to sanitize. So it's not like once in a day activity. It's just, it has to be like in a pocket. Whenever you have touched something and you have a doubt, you sanitize it. So on one hand, it has affordable, but whether the frequency of use will go that high, because for them, that 2 rupees is important to get a 1 kg of wheat from the local public distribution source. That 5 rupees is very important for them to buy that rice. So will they spend that much in a day for 5 sachet or 2 sachet or 3 sachet? I doubt. So yes, it's going to be a little difficult. I feel less probable that sanitizer will become a generic thing into the rural economy. I doubt. But yes, more than sanitization, even if we achieve a step before that, yes, you at least do a hand wash, which is much more affordable, and you do a hand wash regularly, that particular habit itself will go in a very long way to maintain the hygiene. You need not just have alcohol or sanitizer with you. At least even if they take care of good cleansing habits regularly, after meal, before meal, after defecation, and all those aspects, that will also be a very, very big milestone to achieve.
Quite interesting way to look at it. Mufaddal has a question. Mufaddal, can you unmute and ask your question?
Hi. So basically, there have been many luxury brands like Zara, Gucci, and Sheraton hotels entering into the FMCG sector during the recent times of COVID. So how do the existing small players, or how do existing HULs cope up with these, and how do they cope up with these pocket organizations?
Okay. See, again, it's a good question, and I think so. Most of them will coexist, and some of this are temporary entrants. See, moment your particular economy revival, or moment your things will come back to normal, this Zara, Zuki, and maybe some of them may just make it a less priority, maybe just make it a small SKU side by side. They will not focus their promotions there. They will not transfer their promotions there. They are just doing currently because, see, kaisa hota hai, you have to engage your manpower. So I give you a very famous example of also another fragrance brand, as I told you also, that they were making fragrance till date, but currently right now, since the fragrance is not being used, you are not going out. What they do with their assets, what they do with the people, how they give the plain salaries, they also need to churn some revenues on the basic operational cost. So to have this basic operational revenue coming back, I don't want to earn profits. I need to just maintain my operation cost. I need to just make sure my overheads are having some kind of some revenue is there to cover up my overheads. So currently, what I presume, what I understand, these brands are only doing that to make sure that their revenues are continuing. Once the things will set back to normal, once the urban shopping will come back to normal, they will like to focus their excess revenues and excess of this into the promotion of the mainline brand. Because as I told you, post-COVID, brands should not lose their purpose. Brands should not lose their identity. Brands should not go away from their original personality, else there will be a confusion in the minds of the people. So I personally feel it is only for a very, very short time. But the moment they will, again, after a few months, when the urban economy will start picking up, again when people will start going shopping, Zara and Gucci and even Sheraton will have to actually look into their core products and the core brand purpose and the core promotion, and they may keep this particular alive. They can't just kill it, so they may just keep it alive, just saath mein chal raha hai, but they will not push it. They will not become big enough. And currently the demand is so high for all these products that in fact Zara, Gucci and the Sheraton, the way they have come in, that's how there are lots and lots of small players who have come in and they are making their own pies. So hand sanitizer market have so blown out of proportion that everyone has been able to get their pie of share. So it's nothing like the existing players are getting their revenues affected. It's just that everyone is getting the full capacity done. And I feel in future, that kind of competition will not matter much. This is my understanding.
Here's another part of question is FMCG being a manpower intensive sector, how did they cope up with the social distancing during the COVID and post-COVID?
See, one thing is already very key. Yes, it's important aspect. There will be, there are, so first of all the, so let's say, for example, there is a factory, okay? There is a factory which manufactures multiple items, okay? And maybe a shampoo, shower gel and body wash. And there, as rightly said, they are manpower intensive in some cases. Right now, during the corona period, obviously they are already working 30% and 50%, and they are only manufacturing what's important. So social distancing and other norms are being taken care of. Second, obviously all FMCG players are mandated with putting the mask and the entire PPE kit for that particular workers, which is mandated. Post-corona, what's going to be imperative is how they have the staggered way of working, how they have different lines been staggered, like always in FMCG company there is a soap line, there is a shampoo line, there is other line. So they will make sure that the timings are placed in such a way that you don't get a lot of people together. Now, if you see intensively, the intensive working is in the places where there are small manufacturers who have a lot of people for manual packing, manual filling of shampoo into the bottles, manual filling the soap into the cartons. There is something where the intensive labor will be. Either they will have to set up multiple lines spread across the space, or they will have to work in different shifts. Which is not the current scenario, or they will have to actually reduce their production output. If this kind of concerns beyond even using PPE, social distancing still remains as a concern, then this kind of factors need to be taken in. I think automation will take a center stage, but not immediately, because right now revenues are hit. Nobody will go for a 50 lakh or 1 crore machine immediately. So obviously they will like to either change the timelines and work in shifts or staggered working. But if this particular mandate is there of social distancing forever, then automation may come up in these areas which are human intensive, particularly the filling and the packing area. See, in the FMCG product preparation, filling and the packing area are the one where exactly there is a lot of manpower requirement, not in the initial stages of preparation. So those things will have to be automated.
Rajendra has a question. Rajendra, can you unmute and ask your question, please?
Hi, Chintan. Thanks for the presentation. I have few questions. It is related to our services also. So there are a lot of suppliers are in market, for supplying these sanitizers and disinfectants.
Right.
So how to check the reliability of their product? There are a lot of certification, probably IMA or any other authority. So can you just throw some light on this? That is one question.
So you are talking only about the what you call as sanitizer, or what kind of products?
Sanitizers and disinfectant. The cleaning sort of thing.
Okay. So yeah, I completely understand that. But yes, what you can make sure is, if they are already claiming to be having 70% alcohol, if they are claiming to be having certain specific active ingredients and as a disinfectant, then you can be rest assured it's a very good product. But yes, provided that company who is ever claiming it has added rightfully to that proportion. And that can only be, see, so I tell you what happens. Who recommended, IMA recommended, FDA registered, all these aspects are there. But ultimately, I'm not trying to bring down your trust from a FMCG product. No, that's not my intention. I'm trying to give you a clear-cut idea. One is you be rightful. One is the brand is very, rightfully doing that particular job that मेरे को अगर 2% मैंने declare किया मैं 2% add करता हूँ, which most of the companies do, and obviously all these big players will be doing. They will never do any wrong thing. So whenever it's a national brand or a regional brand, then you be rest assured, I'm sure to all the best of my experiences, they do what they say. And you should look for that active ingredient. So for example, in a sanitizer, alcohol is important. Or for a disinfectant, either a quaternary ammonium compound or a benzalkonium chloride or salicylic acid or certain kind of this germ kill ingredients are important. So this kind of knowledge is very simply available on Google. What are the key disinfecting ingredients that has to be found in a floor cleaner or a hand wash or anything? If they are mentioned there, they'll be surely there and they are good quality. Where comes the challenges? For example, when the lockdown was implemented and when Dettol was not in enough supplies, or the floor cleaner like Lysol was not in enough supplies across India, then when a local player comes up and gives you a bottle and it's some unknown random brand or some simple bottle and you don't know, there comes the challenge that even if the label is copied, whether real it has been, that ingredient has been added and worked out, whether that efficacy testing is done, whether that particular certifications are done, because I will not shy in saying that there are also such people who do that particular just label, copy paste the label and copy paste the ingredients. Rest I will make with something else and sell it. Because as I told you also, currently for this kind of scenarios, regulations are still not strict. Nobody is picking up this local brands and testing and saying कि आपके floor cleaner में इतना disinfectant नहीं है. वो अभी तक इतना implementation नहीं हो रहा है, and that's how there is no control over the home care brands, in the small scale segment and the local players. Anybody can make something and launch it, but then it's difficult to, until and unless some kind of regulations come in, I can't say you can easily trust those very local brands. So that's it. Yeah.
So brand is also, it's very critical.
So here the branding becomes very, very critical. That yes, अगर आप Lysol लोगे, अगर आप Domex लोगे, या Nimile लोगे for ITC, या Himalaya लोगे, you will be sure. I'm not saying that local companies do necessarily, do not do the right stuff, but there are good probabilities, or there are certain probabilities that yes, somebody may not doing up to the level required.
Okay.
So or also another aspect is, sorry, just one last.
Yeah.
Another aspect is, this particular products are highly water intensive. If you see floor cleaner is like, around significant proportion is water, liquid laundry, liquid dishwash, shampoos, there are 80-90% of water content in this products. Okay. The active material is anywhere between 10 to 30%. Rest is all water. So it's very important that what kind of quality of water they are using, and many of times is the local stuff. When it is there, a municipality water is used. So personally, I am coming from the FMCG product formulation, I will not recommend that. But you cannot control. They don't have resources. They are still doing their best, business what they can do. So that's where safety and hygiene do comes in picture, and where I will not recommend that when such practices to be taken.
Okay, thanks. Next question is, there are a lot of tunnel sanitization system or spraying sanitizers over human body to disinfect,
Right.
So that is the norms, coming up. So is it really advisable, and is it really safe?
So, okay, let's understand first why the sanitization is required. So what it is told that kind of a coronavirus that can thrive on something which is also having, your water droplets, or it can thrive on, your cough and cold, whatever while all this, the small micro droplets which come out when you speak. So it's very important that you be disinfected, that all the bacteria be removed from your body, whatever external contamination you're taking out, killed. I don't have, or at least to the best of my knowledge, we don't have enough evidence that a disinfectant popularly consisting of sodium hypochlorite or a hydrogen peroxide or a certain kind of ammonium compounds are completely successful in killing the coronavirus. So yes, this particular sanitization is not done to kill coronavirus. It is done to just make sure that at least to reduce the probability of any kind of bacterial infection which can induce cough and cold, which thus becomes a breeding ground for viruses. So they are trying to control the sanitization for, doing the sanitization for control of the growth of bacteria and other stuff. And yes, sodium hypochlorite, hydrogen peroxide and everything does kill this particular bacteria. Now coming to the point that whether it has to be done in a way that they are doing like spraying on the bodies and something, I personally feel it's not right. Okay, because I feel that they are corrosive in nature. They are also not good for skin in some cases. You don't know what kind of concentration they are using, and well, there are some better ways and means to take care of this sanitization done rather than just spraying over it because you don't know where it will be on your body. So I personally don't approve of it, but in the situation like this, when you don't know what's going to be next and you don't know what kind of infection who will carry, people are trying their own ways and means. Now you can't go and teach everyone across the world that okay, this is right, this is wrong, this is that. They are trying their best ways and means. So that way they are doing, we cannot stop them, but I personally feel it may not be the correct way to do it.
Okay, thank you. And next bit weird question. So this 20-minute washing, hands,
20 seconds.
20 seconds washing hands and
Yes.
killing viruses really proven, or have you tested, or have you, your company has, validated this kind of?
So I tell you where this 20-second is coming in. Okay. See, the point is what? Interaction between a germ and the germ kill ingredient needs to be done, and the germ kill ingredient should interact with the germ and kill it. Now that interaction and the entire procedure does take some time, and also there is a probability of coming in contact. So there is a proven that if you do 20 minutes hand washing, and if you allow it for the contact of 20 minutes across, then that particular probability reaches to a level which will ensure you 99% germ kill. Now germs can be anywhere on your hand, and that's why they show you different steps of germ cleaning at every different locations in your hand, so that you make sure that there is enough probability that you have done 99% germ kill. Because two aspects: you cover up the entire area, and second, you make sure that this molecule which is there in very less concentration. Now they cannot give you a high concentration of molecule because it can irritate you as well. But that molecule concentration, whatever is in it, that molecules come in contact with the germ. So to make that probability higher, the 20 minutes is enough to then you can say 99% germ kill. अगर आपने 5 सेकंड में धोया और वो अगर कांटेक्ट में नहीं आया तो शायद बैक्टीरिया निकलेगा भी नहीं या मरेगा भी नहीं. So that's how that 20 second is important. We call it a time kill study. Okay, we actually note that how fast a particular bactericidal ingredient is, killing the bacteria. And from that time kill study, it comes that yes, at least a good 20-second hand wash needs to be done to ensure that you are very clean.
Great, thank you so much.
Yep, welcome.
We have a question from Mehul. Mehul, can you unmute and ask your question, please?
Hey, hi, Chintan.
Hi.
Am I audible, Neil?
Yeah, you are.
Very much.
Okay, yeah. See, my two questions are: first, if I'm not wrong, you mentioned about this basic raw material which goes into sanitizing product, that is polymer.
Yeah.
If I'm not wrong. So, what is the percentage of the polymer having the Galaxy Surfactants having the market share in India? If it is being exported by Galaxy, so has the export also got any impact because of this supply chain issue?
So first of all, we don't supply the polymer. Okay.
Oh,
just
okay.
to mention you. But yes, can you repeat the question, please? I just had one point to answer on that.
The first point is, if you supply this the raw material called polymer, so what is the market share of the polymer in India? And has it also got any peer impact, peer pressure, because of the other players also getting into the market and producing sanitizer at their own cost?
So I tell you one thing, this specific polymer which we are talking, okay, they are manufactured by a couple of handful of companies, okay, but there is only one major player who does that, and that is Lubrizol. It's very well known. So Lubrizol is very, very strong in this specific type of polymers which are available in the market, which give you the jelly structure which are required for the alcohols. There are also regional players which are there who are available. See, one thing is very important. Polymer is not like a generic molecule which you can make and you get the same consistency. Every polymer, the way it is made, it can create a whole new set of properties. So I cannot say the same type of polymer coming from one source is very similar to the second source. And that kind of, because of this properties, it becomes, all these important brands will only go with one specific brand like Lubrizol polymer, because that gives you that kind of consistency in alcohol. Now, when you have this particular situation like Corona, when you know that, you cannot have enough quantities of this polymer, and when there is a supply constraint, that's how then it comes that, okay, I need to go for someone else. It's okay, it may be a less good polymer or not delivering on certain properties, but at least it gels the way I want it and I will buy from it. In that case, these companies had, in fact, better time on exports. Some of these companies who were there doing small jobs of these polymers, they got a chance to sell the polymer because the demand was high. The polymer prices shot up from 2,000 rupees a kg to 6,000 rupees a kg because of the non-availability. And these companies who are there, okay, another small companies who are giving polymers, they were also able to sell in good quantities at 6,000 rupees or 5,000 rupees. So there are these companies who have made really good amount of money out of it. So that is it. But otherwise, when you talk about market share, I didn't get that question because first of all, I'm not selling and I don't know the total market of the polymer. I can tell you in the formulation, it goes up to, let's say, 0.2, 0.3%. But don't go on that 0.2, 0.3% as very small amount. It really becomes into very big. I don't have the number of tonnages of sanitizer that are produced in last 3 months, but I'm sure it would have outdone any kind of tonnages of hand washers or the shampoos or anything. So it will be a really, really good volume.
Okay. Yep. Thanks. Yep.
We have a question from Ronak. Ronak, if you can unmute and ask a question.
Yeah, hi Chintan. Very good presentation. Just
Thanks.
one question on premiumization. So even during these times, our company is focusing on coming up with premium products, which might not see much of demand, maybe because today most of us, many of the consumers would not want to buy an expensive product even on the personal care side. So what is the scenario right now? Are the companies still focusing on premiumization?
No. So now what will happen is, see, okay, your question is very valid and very rightful that premiumization is going to take a little backseat. Okay. So let me explain a little bit in detail. Earlier, premiumization means that whatever the sustainability I was talking about, whatever safe products I was talking about, whatever this, good ingredients I was to talk about, that was only accessible to premium products because they were classified that way and then used to price high because people were throwing money. Okay. So our premiumization, our definition of premiumization sometimes directly relates to money. Okay. Now what I'm talking about is, people will not throw the same amount of money at you. Okay. So you may have to shrink if you are going to go selling the same products, then you may have to shrink some kind of margins yourself and place it at a lower MRP, induce them to buy again, get back them, get back these lost customers. Specifically, this will be for the urban market where people still have jobs. You may just change the priorities and you will have to convince them to come back. Second stage of premiumization is wherein companies will have to, another thing is companies will have to innovate. Okay. That whatever this kind of properties or features I was giving in a high value added product, I should also give these features into, by reducing the
Basic
cost. Like as a supplier ingredient, I may try to work around those features and still decrease my cost of production, still come out with more generic ingredient from the generic raw materials so that I can decrease my cost of production, pass on the benefits to my customer, who in turn use this particular products at a lower cost and still offer the same features at a lower price. So that way the premiumization can come back. But if it is not done, then premiumization may take a hit, number two. And somewhere it is thought so that the premiumization may not take that kind of hit into certain segments or markets. Which are the segments and markets? Baby care, okay? You will not compromise your health of a baby. You will not compromise anything related to your baby's health. So baby care guys will not reduce that much. You know, they will have that, they will not compromise on that. So premiumization will stay there. Premiumization into certain international markets where the economy may have been affected, but still in our rupee terms and in their dollar terms, you know, when this conversion happens, for us into rupee terms, like even a $1.75 rupees, maybe a little, some, let's say $3, $2.25 rupees, maybe a mangas thing. For them, $3 products becomes not that way kind of costly product because it's into dollar terms, you know, the exchange rate impact. So there, the premiumization will not affect. But there are segments, let's say for example, beard grooming, having a beard oil, beard wax, beard cream, beard shaving and everything. And I used to have a set of these products and I used to spend 2,000 rupees on it. And now I have also kept beard. I also have that particular desire and everything. And now I was spending, let's say 2,000 rupees monthly. Now I'll say, garaj hai kya? Nahi, thode der ke ruk jata hu. You know, those kind of segments will take a hit. This is my thought, where people will first think that, okay, let me save, because currently the economic assets are also at very, very stress. Already I'm not getting good amount of savings. You already know, since you are from finance, I need to let you, but interest rates are dropping, situations are going bad. You don't have a security about a job. So I will not like to spend on certain this exotic products, which were, you know, just desirous.
Right. Got it. Got it. Just like in case of a biscuit also, people would not go for a dark fantasy as much earlier. Now they would be okay with a good day also right now.
Right.
But very valid point.
Then
From the baby care perspective, that's a place where I don't think anyone would compromise.
No, and it is seen that the baby care in the last 2 months during lockdown has boomed up. Because people have stocked up also कि मेरी baby के लिए कुछ कम नहीं हो जाना चाहिए, and you know they are still, they are taking care that, you know, perfectly कुछ होना भी नहीं चाहिए. Yeah. But the one important best thing is, now suppose if I create a innovation and give you dark fantasy of type of product in the same as the price as Good Day, then you will surely shift.
Correct.
That's where I was talking about being cost effective and at the same time giving this high features. That will be the wonderful thing to avoid.
Yes. Great. That answers my question. Thank you.
Yep.
Thanks, Chintan. I think we can go on having more questions, but I think
I'm okay.
So I'm okay. So I have one question: is the segment which we keep on stressing on is the environment balances that has to be built in, because you're using more and more chemicals right now. So and there was a big movement which was happening towards stopping to use chemical products.
And even plastics.
Which was actually picking up, and now I think everything is going to be on a back burner for a really long time for things to look. So what do you think will happen to that segment as such as of now? That whole eco-friendly segment that was picking up in a very strong way right now.
So a couple of points which are just coming to my mind, which I would like to share with the group is, see, yes, first is ecology has really taken a backseat again from the minds of the people. On one hand, okay, I'm not saying forever, but this is true for the segments for lower income group, for people whose income stress is there, for people who feel that, you know, forget economy, I need a lower income, lower price products. Okay, so for them, they will not go for 7th generation dishwash who says that I'm completely from the plant-based ingredients. I will not go to buy a tablet-based dishwash who says that I don't use a plastic bottle. all these things they will not buy. They said, okay, I don't want that right now. I need to have a low cost product right now. There was one report that, US was nearly about to ban certain type of wipes because, wipes cuts out lot of trees in the market. Like, sorry, trees बहुत cut होती है जब wipes आपके बहुत use होते हैं. So certain type of wipes and certain type of plastics and things were supposed to be banned. Now, given that I don't want to touch, I want a no-touch product. I want my own individuality. I want to be safe. And I also want these products to be available quickly. Wipes were the first one to come back because wipes are you are going to use your individual cleansing part. So right now, the wipes are high on demand. So, that kind of creation of the balance is really difficult unless and until someone doesn't come out of innovation to create a wipe, let's say from reused papers, or create a wipes from, let's say, reused some kind of cardboards or cartons or something where you actually reuse it. You don't kill the trees again. So your ecology is taken care, as well as your consumer habits of social distancing or safety or hygiene or personal use is taken care. So that was, I was talking that radical innovation is going to be required, wherein you can't have either or situation. And now it's imperative that you have and situation. So coming from my perspective also, I am proud to say that my company, okay, Galaxy for that matter, right from this like last 5 years onwards, whatever the bulk scale ingredients you are making, we are trying to ensure that it's completely ecologically zero discharge or having zero footprints or having a completely closed loop cycle, so that when we give out, we still call it as a natural product. And that's how it's very imperative that, these companies do that kind of job to give you a product which is ecologically also there, cost effective as well, and also affordable. Because otherwise, yes, sustainability is going to take a backseat at least for a year or so, till the time the economy or the income of the people is not resuming or like coming back to the normal levels, and wherein people will be ready to again shell out an extra कि चलो ठीक है तुम्हारा recycling plastic है, तुम बहुत इको फ्रेंडली इंग्रेडिएंट्स यूज करता है, चल तेरे को और 50 रुपए एक्स्ट्रा दिया. वो लोग नहीं करेंगे. Nobody will want to do that. So again things will come back to, there is this ingredient called as LAFSA into your formulations. You might sometime read over the label. वो petrochemical based है. Okay, लोग उससे भी दूर जा रहे थे टेक्सटाइल्स में कि मेरे को LAFSA यूज नहीं करना. I want to use a green product. I don't want to use a petrochemical product. But boss, that's a workforce that is giving you सबसे सस्ता pricing, and now people will again move to that kind of ingredients wherein the prices are very, very low. So yes, one way you can think that all the people who are going to buy premium products whose incomes are not been affected, they may continue, number one. Number two, either the innovation takes care of it, that okay, I'm clubbing both the properties together and giving you an affordable range. Or third, impact can happen that all the efforts you have put in to make sure that ecological innovations immediately see the commercial success, that may have to wait, or they may have just their efforts may get done away with. So
quite interesting. I think the key takeaway is radical innovation is the word that I think I took from there. Any closing words? We don't have any further questions actually. So any closing words from you, Chintan?
So what I hope as a consumer and as a a responsible person from the home and personal care industry, I just hope that government creates awareness among the people about what kind of products to be qualified to be there in the market and purchased, and what kind of products not to be qualified. So the consumers becomes free from their mind that whatever I will pick up from the shelf, it's safe or not. Somewhere I really like that way in US that they make sure that before going on the shelf, it is considered to be safe. Marketeers or the FMCG products did not say that I am safe. They need to be by default safe. They need to be by default best. They need to not say that I am ecological good, I am safety wise good, my ingredients are nice. No, there has to be a certain kind of minimum criteria and minimum mandate that by default consumers, if they pick up any brand, irrespective of anything, they get a safer product and they get the product. We are not at all mature anywhere near to that. That is number one. So I expect if the real, even the FMCG guys come together and move into this direction, it will be really good. That's number one. Number two, the labeling segment and everything that again talks about safety and how even right? A question was asked whether how can I consider a product which I'm taking from the shelf as sanitizer and a disinfectant? How can I make sure it's safe or not? That question should not come into mind. That, you know, by default, the label should either speak, or the government should make sure that it's not coming on the shelf. It's a problem. And lastly, I feel that, yes, you know, from the supplier point of view and innovations and, you know, let's not give some important thing. On one hand, we talk about ecology hona chahiye, earth ko bachana hai, ye wo hai, but then don't give us an option for the people and make it a very exotic and status type of situation that I'm using a sustainable products and I'm using really high premium products. Then make it a mandate to come, and that, you know, everybody should follow it, and make it a, you know, innovate it in a way that it becomes mass acceptable. Then that's where really you're working on ecology. Otherwise, it's all just na ya kuch, you know, just doing the talking, and, you know, just, you know, showing your shosha. Otherwise, there's no point. This is what I feel. So I hope industry matures to that level, and I hope you know, we as responsible marketers do push in that direction. That yes, you know, let's be more. You know, even home care products for that matter, they need to be getting a lot safer right now. Currently, whatever is there, they are good, but I think so there's a lot of scope to become safer and better products in the market. So that's also, as a responsible citizen, we need to ensure that things happen.
Quite interesting. Those closing words were quite interesting. I mean, look at the fact that you said the government and the industry should ensure that the product has such high quality that at one moment I should not even have a doubt when I'm going and picking it up.
Actually.
And I agree, because when this whole corona thing happened, if you remember, suddenly there was a splurge in spurious sanitizers in the market, and people are paying irrational amount, and these were available at any store, and you had no idea. People are complaining of burns and everything. So yeah, that's
even and we as jugaad people, you know, सब लोग बोलते हैं घर पे बना लेते हैं. You know, people literally bought 5 liters of alcohol from the market. They made some random mixtures at home, sold them. They made some quick money. Like, we are all thinking business in such time. Like, bhai, kar kya rahe ho? And why we allow selling of alcohol so openly in the market? Like, why? So my colleague also bought some 5 liters of alcohol at home. Like, हाँ मेरे घर पे sanitizer के मैं family को बांटूंगा. मैं like, भाई कर क्या रहे हो? Means why? So you know, we okay. हम लोग जुगाड़ लगाते कि कौन 5 लीटर बाहर से महंगा खरीदेगा, मैं खुद बना लेता हूँ घर पे. Okay, ठीक है, जब तक तुम्हें knowledge it's fine, but otherwise don't play with your life or hygiene or health or I don't know. So that kind of control we don't have it in India, and
I think sometimes
we are very proud about our jugaad, but actually we need not be proud at, you know. Sometimes I feel कि हम लोग बहुत ऐसा cool लेते हैं यार, हम लोग तो ऐसे जुगाड़ू हैं, हम लोग कुछ भी कर सकते हैं ऐसे टाइम्स में. But वो rightfully चलना चाहिए, वो ऐसे. So it's okay. There are a lot of things to say, but I can't.
No, I was about to say the same thing, that we need to move away from the usage of that word jugaad to pure proper innovation. We quite loosely use that word jugaad, and we feel very proud about it. But I agree, there is a problem there. We should do that.
Right.
So thank you so much, Chintan, for joining us this evening and sharing your insights and experience in this whole crisis, and how your segment in the home personal care segment did during the pandemic, how the supply chain moved up. And I mean, the JIT concept completely, which we were completely posting about right now, must have taken like a big back burner. I wish you...
Right.
So I hope to see you soon sharing more insights about the segments, and I wish you the best in your career. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for joining us.
And if there is a demand, we can really keep up the session of making soaps at home.
We can do that. I'm absolutely sure we can have like a 30-minute session on how to make soaps at home. We can really do that.
Yeah, you can let me know. Not an issue.
Let's do that. All right. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining in. Tomorrow, 12 o'clock, we have a session with Anita Toshniwal. She's the head director of Toshniwal Securities Equities Limited. So it's going to be a very interactive session, because she wants to have a discussion with everyone rather than rather than doing a PPT is what she's insisting. So I hope to see you all. Thank you so much for joining in this evening. And
thanks, Neil. Thanks, everyone. I had a good discussion, and thanks for the good questions, because more than the speaker, it's important if audience can actually get good points from the speaker itself. So it's very important, key you really stimulated me for getting more thoughts from my end. Thank you.
Thank you so much, everyone. So, good evening.